Okay, we're in focus now. Plastic finger again. Gonna try and turn this into this. Gonna be building a boat. First of all, we have to go to the hardware shop, buy the timber. Then we have to go to the timber yard, collect the timber, and then we have to get it to where we're going to build a boat. So this is going to be a bit disjointed and a bit hoo-ha and flip-flap and things, but there we go anyway. So if you can like, subscribe and hit the bell, everything will be hunky-dory. Here we are. We have just spent 7,750 on timber, epoxy resin, copper nails, all that sort of stuff. So here we go, choosing the timber from the timbers merchant to see which ones we're actually going to use. I think they're actually going to cut them down to 2x1 and 2x2. There you go, you can really see the bow in that one, can't you? Oops. Well, that's 3 sheets of ply on the... Yep, we go back to the other timber now. And now we've got the guys loading it on the truck properly, I should say. So we found one ratchet strap, and what ubiquitously passes was string here. So that's the timber purchased. Get it back to Bani now and across the river. Well, it's quite breezy here today, so there's the lads going off, I think, to get a bigger boat. They've left me in charge of the purchases. I've been left here in charge of our purchases. Epoxy resin, copper nails, sandpaper, 3 sheets of ply, 2/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and then the 2x1s and 2x2s that were cut from the planks we saw earlier on. Timber was loaded easy enough. Whoops. Now this is where it's going to be fun. Now obviously these guys are on boats pretty much all their lives. I hope my microphone's alright. I hope I'm not getting too much of this wind. I might have to mute it later and do a voiceover, which I know you'll all enjoy. Oh, so there we go, loaded. So marking out begins, and of course using the straight edge of one sheet of ply as a straight edge to mark, ready to cut. A little tack going in just to stop it moving whilst the puts the saw down. So now we have the two halves of a sheet of ply ready for the base. Now setting it up to cut the angle of the where the base goes. That's 15 degrees he reckons. He does it every time. So now we have the two sheets of ply ready for the base. Now setting it up to cut the angle of the where the base goes. That's 15 degrees he reckons. He does it every time. 15 degrees he reckons. He does it every time. commentary now. So he's just marked the centre of what's going to be the base, and then we're going to draw another straight line down. So we've got a centre line for the base. Then we can form the sides. I drink my coffee. Yeah, I'm a good boy, drank my coffee. And now, because it's going to be a long boat, the boys have to clear the workshop. Is what I call a lovely bit of lining up, although I've got a big patch of sunlight here that's ruining the shot a bit. You can see that line just runs straight through. And then marking out the width of the stern. I'm going to film this bit, I can hear people thinking. So I'm just going to film this little bit. You can see he's put marks on at so many inches, but they don't seem to relate to the side yet. So now we've marked every couple of inches, and of course one of the timbers we bought was a 2-inch timber, so these are where the cross members in the hull are going to go. This is going to be the engine support. So I said when he was doing this that he wasn't happy with something. And it's actually the board that the engine's going to sit on. They made it slightly too long. So now the offcuts from earlier on are going to be used to mark the hull, the base. So we get a nice regular shape. So when I cut the chines on the canoe, it's a very similar thing I did. And in fact, when I made the caravan, to get the curve right on the caravan, I measured and tacked. In the past, I've had to repair mirror dinghies where this bit has gone slightly wrong. Joining the two, actually it was a chine. It was joining the chine up, because a 15-foot boat needs the chines joining. There was a very slight millimetre gap, 2mm gap, no, 1.5mm gap at the top, which wasn't at the bottom of the top chine joining, which meant the whole hull looked slightly out of kilter, although the bit that was in the water was square. So this joint here by the hammerhead pretty much has to stay exactly as it is. You can see now the shape of the base coming together. So that gives us a nice line. Once we've got one side, and we're happy with one side, we can cross measure to the other. Now this is interesting. Where I would have put a piece of wood in already, these guys are actually going to weave a little brace to stop it all coming apart and moving around. There's little pictures we used to make with pins and thread. Is more or less what he's going to do here, but stop the two halves of the hull from drifting apart. So there you have it, just a simple little lashing, and that is going to save so much hassle with everything moving around later on. Both sides marked out. You probably can't see the pencil lines particularly well, but I can assure you both sides are marked out nice and symmetrical. So, you can see the shape of the base coming together nicely now. We've only got one pair of safety goggles, so Aaron's wearing his t-shirt over his eyes. But at least there's one pair of safety goggles. So day 2, and as you can tell, a very slight change of venue. We've got a slightly larger area here, so that people getting past aren't in the way and everything. And day 2's work is about to begin. So squaring off a couple of the bits of wood we got from yesterday to make the braces across. This is making the ribs now. So we've got the base bits, which are the blocks, so that the bits that go up the side of the chine. Okay, so all the ribs have been cut, and the main bottom of the boat supports and the side ribs for the chines have been cut, although not jointed yet. We've now got the what I've been told is the chine logs ready to go on, and out comes the epoxy and some nails, so we should actually start seeing construction in a second instead of preparation. So now we're sanding down to the lines, ready for the chine logs. So once again, as with everything, it's measure and mark, mark and measure, measure and mark, mark and measure. We can't really afford mistakes. So we were getting along quite happily, drilling little holes, ready to come up into the chine logs so we don't split the plywood, and everything's ground to a halt because the drill's broken. Now normally you just say, oh dear, what pity, we better get a new drill, but not here. This is young Erik fixing the drill so we can carry on. If this doesn't work, we will have to go and spend an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours even, going to get another one. So the drill is fixed, and we carry on drilling these little 2-3mm holes, and ready for the copper nails to come through, so as I say, so they don't split the wood. I got to admit though, I can't think of a nicer place to build a boat. Last time I built one, it was actually on the car park of a block of flats in South London, but by the river Bani, and the lovely afternoon, well, morning breeze actually. Watching the guys work is lovely. I like hard work, I can watch it all day. So I'm now measuring the bit of wood where the two halves of the bottom of the boat are going to meet up. Measured the gunnel to half, well, to the joint, and marked on the bottom of the boat where the width of the gunnel actually comes to on both sides. So now we're going to measure to cut the sort of mitre joint, and then so we cut the mitre that sits on top of the gunnel then, and then sorry, the chine log, and then we cut a mortise and tenon type joint to hold the side spar in place. And you will notice, not a lovely little tenon saw like we might have in the UK, but kind of a general purpose little tree saw. And highly sophisticated clamping devices. You gotta love it, look, a chisel. No, it's a screwdriver. No, it's a chisel and a screwdriver. And then to render it nice and smooth, the angle grinder with a sanding disc on it, and to be honest with you, you can spend hours in your wood workshop going, oh, I'll just, you know, chisel this off nicely, and in the end you end up with the same sort of finish, I guess. Sort of technical bit, this is the first time the epoxy's been deployed. We have some, the water bottle, which isn't water, which is why the label's been removed. So we got ourselves a nice little bamboo spreader. We've got some what do they call it? Denaturalized alcohol, which I think is the same as our white spirit. Mixing that in with the epoxy, make it slightly more fluid, possibly even slow it down. But it allows us to spread it, and so we're actually now, I suppose I'm going to call this the first stage of construction, don't I? I bet I had. So this is where the first bit of epoxy and nails go in. We're going to presumably put epoxy on the so-called chine log and nail and tack as we go. Or rather nail as we go, because we've drilled the holes underneath. We can oops. So now we're epoxy the bit in the middle. I think then we're going to come back, put the gunnel in, and come back down, tacking towards the back. We'll do the same at the front then. Apparently the epoxy is going to take a couple of hours to go off. So that gives us a bit of leeway. Of course the epoxy will fill a little, and that will allow us to hide a few sins, but so this is a real measure once, measure 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and cut once, because once we get this nail in, everything's there forever. Turned over now. Won't need an anvil then. We just So this joint here, because it ends up being about a 15.5-foot long boat, it's possible that you could use a 3-inch scarf, but you're still going to reinforce it because you've got the engine going in behind it. So this will also mount the board that squares up the boat to square everything off inside the boat. Matching up front and back halves now. This side looks like it's slightly out, but it's actually a discoloration in the plywood. The actual side of the boat is perfect. There might be a micron or two, but three of us very gently turned it over. I think this is probably one of the more critical bits. Getting it lying nice and flat and square. One of the confusions I've heard here with people wanting sorts of nails is people call these nails bronze nails, which of course are copper and tin. But these are copper nails. It's unfortunate the Tagalog word for copper and bronze is the same. I think possibly because they've not traditionally been a huge source of metals for the rest of the world. Yeah, well, I know to clean off the excess. So now we have the chine log back. No, I thought we were going to do it to the halfway mark, but it looks like we're doing it all the way down now, so this will be fun. I'm going to say this, hopefully Erik doesn't understand me, but it always amazes me when people do something and they do it again and again and again and again, how precisely they can measure out what they need for one little bit of the job. So this epoxy that he's mixed up now, he's got hardly any left on his pallet. It's just all gone onto the job that he's doing, so the wastage is an absolute minimum. So the gunnel's going on now. Oh, the chine log is going on now. They've given me a dry bit to hold. I'm following instructions, which is, I'm not quite sure how easy it's going to be, because the instructions are going to be shouted in Tagalog and I'm listening in English, so the last little bit of the chine log going on. Unfortunately I've got epoxy resin over my finger, so my camera's going to have it on for the rest of its life now. You see, putting some curve into the bottom of the boat, even whilst doing the log. And now epoxying a second chine log, as I believe they're called. So there you go. Second chine log in place. One or two of the nails have come through, but we'll grind them down afterwards. I presume that's just the nails that were in the wrong place in the shop. And we've now got a nice pointy bow, which reminds me of we now have a nice pointy bow, which reminds me of a famous poem. Pointy birds. Oh, pointy birds, pointy pointy, anoint my head a 90-90. Thank you, Steve Martin. So, day 3, and we're starting to cut the braces and then the ribs.
Abante, abante. Sino na yan yung female?
Stretchers, as it were, done.
Nag-aawak ako, yung mawakan yun.
Literally taken us
kasi baka matanggal to.
half an hour this morning. The ribs and everything young Eric made last night, they're in a little stack there.
Quattro.
Now we're just measuring away again.
Ice.
So we've got the back set of ribs here. 6 bar ribs. 5th bar's going in now, braces going in now. Cleaning off the joints, cleaning out the drainage to 2nd. So this is the rib that goes into the piece that joins the 2 halves of the base together. So we're making sure it's a really nice fit. Because again, we're going to have to join the sides somewhere. And so there we are, that's all the stretchers cut. Just a couple more ribs left to do now after a little fight with Aaron about whether or not we should use a screwdriver or a chisel for chiseling. We're ready to go. We came to the agreement. He was going to use a screwdriver and he was going to take the chisel off me. So well, there we go, that's life. People who do it every day compared to somebody who thinks they're a hobby boat builder. I really want to show what progress we're making. So we're getting ready to epoxy now. Clear the decks down. We're nailing through from underneath into the bits and everything. Of course, they're all labelled 1, 2, 3, left and right. An arrow for forwards, all that sort of thing. Once again, on goes the epoxy. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's too small.
Better.
Thanks. Right. Done. Let's go.
That's okay.
We are English now. We are not Filipino. We are English now.
It's just as well I'm not English, isn't it?
We speak English and then you speak Tagalog.
Turo mo kasi magkaroon Tagalog ko.
Ha?
Turo mo magkaroon Tagalog.
Hindi na. You know how to speak Tagalog, right?
Hindi.
Yeah.
Aaron and I was doing a little bit of tidy up where the excess epoxy is being squeezed out. And Erik getting the next one. Hopefully this will be number 5, because we inadvertently put number 2 on early, but it doesn't matter. So again, all down, all nailed in,
Lunch break.
epoxy in place, epoxy being cleaned off, and as you've just heard, lunch break on day 3. So we got to get this level now, because the boat needs to be level. When the sides go on, everything needs to be okay. So what we're doing is using a hose pipe with a bit of water in it, 2 ends marked, so that we can get the post, a point on the post level with the table we're going to be on. Then we make the table level. So we got a level base when the ribs go in and the sides go on. Otherwise we end up with a slightly skew-if boat, which of course we're building a new boat in the village. So everybody's come to inspect and see how we're doing. We're probably doing it wrong, but you know, looks like we're getting ready for putting the ribs in. Rib number 1 in already, I think. So made up a form Monday, I think it was, to angle the ribs correctly. So
Manatikam kasi nga tambot sa orin, di ba? Manaw. Kala ni Ading ko kanya ba?
Kala kapit niya ako bro. May marami.
and then in goes the last rib. It's actually, we just got the bow to do the actual bow timber, but I think that goes in once we know where the external side ply is going to go. So I think pretty much when we've done this, we're done for the day, because we need to wait for the epoxy to go off again. Okay, start of day 4, making the sides. Young Erik now is measuring measuring it out, I think to cut it into thirds. Like in the middle of the rib and the boat. On the thing where we line up one bit of ply to that line. And the other end of the back of the boat. Now I think I'm going to have to be an anvil for a second.
Ay, basta naman yung sarap. Nong, kati man nong. Bakit mo?
Ah,
Terus kita naman din. Turak mo na to eh. Pinit dito eh. Turak pa.
yan.
Kasi sa kon, yung tawag natin ano kan? Temporary. Yes. Yung tanong.
One side all measured up and put in place nicely. So now we do the same with the other side and mark it up. And then we match the fronts to the backs. Using the manufactured straight edge bottom of the boat. And the two bits that were the middle bits have been separated off and they're going to be used for cross brace with the engine guard, all that sort of stuff.
Taman nga to, dikit daan. Ibabatay. Ibabatay.
So the front bit's been cut off now. So we're about, what, 14 inches, 16 inches short of the actual bow. Apparently it makes it easier to make the bow then then put that on in one piece or something. I'm not quite sure yet, we'll find out as we go along. And to make sure the two bits that hang below, so when we trim them later, they're all nice and even. Actually you can see there's a vernier gauge there just to make sure that it's exactly right. Although we're, you know, building in a yard and these guys do it every day, they're still doing, well, not every day, but they're still taking a lot of precision over it. I mean, I guess pretty much everybody in the village knows how to make a boat, but they give them to the best guys and the best guys do it for generations. So, epoxy applied, rear right hand side of boat on, nailed on, everything is, it's got to be where it's got to be now, so. But as you can tell, it's looking like a boat. So coming up on lunchtime now, so everybody's helping. I think we're going to go try and get all the sides on, apart from the bow, and then stop for lunch maybe. But, as you can see, it's all hands on hull, as it were. I was going to say deck, but no, that's it, too corny even for me. And so the last bit of the sides go on.
Yes.
Just the bow now, once this is done. Ah. Salamat. And now we have something that's starting to look like a boat. There you go then. The very pointy bit has just been taken off. We're now making up a bow piece. Sloped off early last evening. Young Erik carried on. Now, one of the things he was doing when I was leaving yesterday was making sure there was 5 inches between that and that drop there. So he's obviously put the bow on. It looks like fairly recently because the epoxy is still nice and wet. So, but as you can see, nailed on bits. Oh, and that's been done. So the board for the engine place is in place, although not glued and thingied yet, because we have to decide. Oh, and he's cut the bit for the tail unit, for the transom at the back. So now for the engine compartment, I have to decide what shape I want cut into it to allow air through. I've got Joker's hats and all sorts of things. I was thinking of putting a triple towel or something like that. Okay, so gunnels are done. We just cut down the sides now so they're all nice and straight, measured up against the gunnel. Lined up the gunnel, trimmed off the top. Now epoxy. And then we'll be nailing and doing the left hand side.
Go ahead. Tuloy.
Nakasapay mo dyan. Ay, pantay tatlo yan.
Anong daw ko na?
Siguro, yung isa.
Saka. Tingin.
So now we just finish off cutting the mortise joint for the left hand side or port inner gunnel, and I presume we're going to glue that and then go to lunch. We've cut the corresponding bits in the other half of the gunnel over there, and we've got the inside gunnel going on with a really clever little clamp down the other end. You take your eye off the ball for 5 minutes. The sides go in, the rub strips go on. There's a strip on the bottom. Both gunnels were done yesterday. I'm just going to trim off the side strips now. I presume we're waiting for the... That one's not epoxied yet, there we go. This and this, and you can see the epoxy needs to go off here. There we go, epoxying the last side rubber, I don't know what you call them really. Protective bars between the gunnel and the bottom of the hull anyway, just sort of like rub strips I guess, are they? And we'll tack that one in place. And I believe then we can turn the boat over and get on some other stuff, but I suspect it'll be more sand. Get everything nice and smooth, ready for painting. Got the old engine out the old boat. Petrol tank leaks, there's loads of damage to the front. It's obviously it's salt corrosion, but I don't think it's worth salvaging really. I mean it probably is, but you know, to rebuild as a spare, but don't think it'll work particularly well as a main engine. So now we have something that absolutely definitely looks like a boat. So that's been made ready for the
Nakababa na yun man. Oo.
prop shaft
Nauna ka na eh. Kasi kung makapaskol na yan.
and an old engine, I think, as a blank. Is that the old engine or
Nasa, this is my engine. And
a spare one?
the engine. But same base.
Yeah. That's just making a little mortise here for the prop shaft support to go in.
Mo, pag naparisan niya agad po. Lang santong korek na rin ah. Santa korek na rin ah. Okay. Up, ngadam.
Kita mencoba nana pasal nggak tahu.
Aray ko.
Bayar pamagat. Ya bukan kayak gini. Sembilan mana kita tahu. Dia banjir bawah ini. Mga epok na ito man. Ito lang kinuha.
Batak.
Nah. Ala, mama lang.
Ha?
Tayo mama. Kira pa pa tayo.
Kaya babaw na.
Ano ko kayo ah?
So after all that faffing round, getting everything nice and straight, we've now got the propeller guide shaft in place. We've now got the propeller guide shaft in place. That's all nicely filled up so we won't get water in there. All the little tackings that have gone in for the guide inside and the engine mount are all there. It's all been sanded down. Then we've got the keel itself, all nice and streamlined. So now I've just got, oh, you can see where it's rained and it's got a bit of stain on it. It rained the other night. And you see it stained a bit. There it is. Now I just have to get the paint, which will probably be tomorrow after I get my pension, and some paintbrushes. Well, I think it's a nice interior colour. It's a bit sort of schoolboy at school. What do you call it? School. Fountain pen blue, isn't it? That's what I'd call that. Fountain pen blue. We can just about afford another 6 or 7.5 horsepower engine, but really we want to put a bigger ones that are 12, 13, 14 horsepower in. So if we can make do with this for a couple of months, we can save up and we can get the 15,000 for a new engine. So today's task is to actually put the tiller mechanism on, or rudder mechanism on. And I see we've missed a bit of painting, which has got to be done. So I'm probably going to have to beg some yellow from somewhere. The engine's missing, of course, the motor's missing. We won't put that in until we've got it up and running again, I guess. Well, not I guess. No point in putting it in and then working on it. We might as well work on it and then put it in.
Wala, ante. Wala.
Ouch. So hot.
The moment of truth. Does it sink? No, it hasn't sunk. Does it fill up with water? Doesn't seem to be filling up with water.
Itakboy ko mga makina niya. Tapos testingin ko kung ano yung takbo.
Gwapo. Ay, talaga.
Pinalagang pinae kan. Kaya takal salong.
Kaya sa mga sangat sa makabulan sa kitaan mo din nga.
Ay, palubog mo tayo siya. Tama kaya ka sa barayat.
Gulpi ka, rulot ka bukutan.
Dora!
No? Ah,
Oh, ganda. Ayan. Ay, ganda. Bilis na po.
ano, wag niya na. Iwan ka nila. Patayusin.
Okay, so that's that completed. Ended up getting another engine the other day. That cost me 6,500 peso. The timber and everything, the original purchase for all that was 7,750 peso. The paint was another 1,500 peso for 2 litres of yellow, 2 litres of primer and 2 litres of blue. What they call epoxy paint, so a 2-part paint. So when I say pesos, between 72 and 74 peso to the pound, so 775 peso is, what's that, just over £100. The 6,500 is just under 90 quid, I guess. So all in all, job done, boat ready to go out, happy with it. That's it really. I hope you've enjoyed. Please like, subscribe and do what you like, and I'll see you on my next one. Plastered Finger saying thank you.